Black pharaohs, a one-eyed warrior queen who fed her captives to her pet lion, and a civilization that took on the most powerful armies in the ancient world. This is the history of the Nubians, the civilization that the world forgot. Until now. Pharaonic Egypt is undoubtedly the most widely recognized ancient civilization on the African continent. However, this does not mean that this was the only great ancient African civilization. Egypt's southern neighbors, the Nubians, were one such civilization. They have a fascinating history of cooperation and conflict with Egypt and a unique tradition of powerful warrior queens that deserves more attention than it generally receives. Before we jump into that intriguing history, if you're interested in early access to videos and live chats with the creator of Intrigued Mind, consider subscribing to our Patreon. Your support will greatly help us keep the channel producing more intriguing content. Approximately 7,000 years ago, humans in and around Nubia transitioned from a hunter-gatherer lifestyle to an animal herding-based one. Agriculture and permanent settlements soon followed. Approximately 4,500 years ago, a large settlement emerged at Kerma, just north of the Nile River's third cataract. The Nile's cataracts are shallow stretches of whitewater rapids between Khartoum and Aswan, where the surface of the water is broken by many small boulders and rocks protruding from the riverbed. These cataracts made it incredibly difficult for boats to travel up the Nile and formed a natural fortification from the Nile-savvy Egyptians. Located in present-day Sudan and southern Egypt, Nubia stretches along and above these series of cataracts. From here, the Nubians developed a complex society with a strong central government, international trade, and significant martial prowess. Gold, the gleaming metal after which the Egyptians named Nubia, and their desire for it, caused an uneasy relationship between the two kingdoms for much of their history. At times, they were considered the Egyptians' allies, while at other times, they were seen as loathsome adversaries. The history of the Nubian civilization is equally as intricate and intriguing as that of the Egyptians. However, because Nubia left behind less archaeological and historical evidence, it has often been overshadowed by its Egyptian neighbor. The Kingdom of Kerma, one of the most powerful Nubian kingdoms, formed around 2700 BCE. The Kerma culture was based in the southern part of Nubia, or Upper Nubia, and later extended its reach northward into Lower Nubia and to the border of Egypt. Egyptian Old Kingdom evidence, as well as archaeological evidence from Nubia, indicate extensive contacts between Egypt and Nubia at that time, 2700 to 2200 BC, as well as the presence of early Nubian regional rulers. It appears that these earlier rulers were loyal to the pharaohs of Egypt. After the invasion of Egypt by the Hyksos in 1785 BC, the Kingdom of Kerma absorbed the Sudanese Kingdom of Sai and became a sizable, populous empire, rivaling the Middle Kingdom of Egypt. However, much of Nubia again came under Egyptian domination during the New Kingdom period of 1500 to 1100 BCE. But then, the collapse of the Late Bronze Age occurred. Egyptian records speak of raids by a group of maritime pirates, referred to as the Sea People, that terrorized the coastal towns and cities of the Mediterranean area for over 100 years. At the same time, civil wars and devastating famines led to the disappearance of many civilizations in the area, including Mycenaean Greek and the Hittite Empire. The New Kingdom of Egypt survived, but was drastically weakened. We can only assume much of the same problems struck the Kingdom of Kerma at the same time. Following this collapse, the Kingdom of Kush emerged in the 8th century BCE and was heavily influenced by the culture of ancient Egypt. At this point in time, however, the Nubian kingdom was able to turn the tables, and Kushite kings conquered Egypt and established the 25th dynasty. Interestingly, the foreign Nubian rulers of the 25th dynasty of Egypt restored the long-lost Egyptian custom of constructing pyramids for their dead pharaohs. Nubian rulers constructed their own pyramids 1,000 years after Egyptian burial practices had transitioned away from pyramids and towards tombs, like those discovered in the Valley of the Kings. In 751 BCE, Pi, the first monarch of the 25th dynasty, commissioned the construction of the first Nubian pyramids at El Kuru. Since then, hundreds of pyramids built by the Nubians have been discovered in Egypt and Sudan. Archaeologists have discovered massive pyramid fields, and in one newly discovered cemetery, known as Sedinga, they discovered no less than 35 pyramids. The monarchs of Kush ruled Egypt for over a century until the Assyrian conquest, finally being expelled by the Egyptian Psamtik I in the mid-7th century BCE. From the 3rd century BCE to the 3rd century CE, northern Nubia would be invaded and annexed by Egypt. First by the Ptolemaic kingdom, established in the wake of Alexander the Great's conquest, and later by the Romans. This territory would be known in the Greco-Roman world as Dodecaskoinos. While northern Nubia was controlled by others, the Kingdom of Kush remained, with the Kushite imperial capital located further south at Meroe. At this time, it was known by the Greco-Roman world as Ethiopia. The Nubians constructed a multitude of palaces, temples, and pyramids in their new city. Furthermore, the Nubians developed their own system of writing, which has been partially deciphered and is now known as Meroitic. Archaeological evidence and ancient literature show that the Nubians fought both with and against the mighty Roman Empire. A bronze head of the Roman Emperor Augustus was unearthed in 1910 in Meroe. How did it end up there? While Rome dominated and eventually annexed Egypt and northern Nubia as a province under Augustus, his ambitions did not end at Egypt's borders. And why would they be, when the affluence of Nubia, with its gold mines and ornate temples, was situated just to the south of their territory? What the Romans didn't expect, and most likely underestimated, was that the Kingdom of Kush was ruled by the warrior queen, Amanirenus. And this queen and sole ruler of Nubia did not sit idly by when provoked by the Roman Empire. Amanirenus and her men defeated the Romans in a preemptive attack at Philae and Syene, which is today's Aswan. According to one account, she toppled sculptures of Augustus and buried the severed head of a bronze statue under the magnificent entryway of her palace, where it remained for almost 2,000 years. Later that same year, Publius Petronius, the new Roman prefect in Egypt, expelled Kush from Syene, and the Roman armies attacked the kingdom, advancing as far as Napata. Amanirenus issued an order for a brutal counterattack. It is said that she fed her captives to her pet lion after the battle, based on engravings discovered at one archaeological site. However, the Kushites were unable to retake Kasr Abrim in Lower Nubia, which had been captured by the Romans, and a flexible boundary began to become settled. Eventually, peace talks began in 21 BCE, and a cessation of hostilities was achieved, with most of the stipulations outlined falling favorably on the side of the Meroites. Rome never seriously considered advancing south of their Egyptian holdings again. Amanirenus' ascendancy to power in ancient Nubia was not unprecedented. Many of the Nubian or Kushite kingdoms were ruled by formidable women, such as Amanirenus, or co-ruled by a king and queen. By the late Meroe era, 5 sole female monarchs had risen to power at various times between 177 BCE and 314 CE. Even queens who co-ruled with kings wielded tremendous authority. The Nubian monarchy through the ages celebrates a long list of powerful women leaders. Shenakdaket is the first recorded sole governing queen of ancient Nubia. She was a queen regent of the Kingdom of Kush during its Meroe-centered period. She ruled from 170 BCE until 150 BCE, and as queen, she reportedly had an important role in the establishment of the Meroitic religion. Her pyramid at Meroe is among the largest pyramids constructed by Kush's monarchs and has a distinctive chapel, 2 chambers, and 2 columns. Numerous animals and captives are depicted in temple artwork, reflecting military victories in Egypt. The queen is shown as a large, obese woman, as were all Meroe queens. This style of depiction is thought to show the wealth and power of these queens. These women are just 2 of the great female leaders of Kush. Although there is not enough evidence to solidify the theory, a few of Egypt's most important queens are said to have been Nubian princesses. This includes Queen Nefertari, Queen Tai, the suspected grandmother of Tutankhamun, and the iconic Queen Nefertiti. As Roman hegemony faltered in the 3rd century CE, control of northern Kush was taken back by the Kushite king, Yeshebokmani. The Kingdom of Kush persisted as a major regional power until the 4th century CE, when it weakened and disintegrated from internal rebellion amid worsening climatic conditions and invasions and conquest by the Noba people. In the 4th century CE, the Christian Kingdom of Nobatia emerged in Nubia, but was later conquered by the Islamic Kingdom of Makuria in the 6th century CE. Nubia continued to be an important region for trade and culture during the Islamic period. In the 19th and 20th centuries, Nubia was colonized by European powers. Nubians continue to live in regions of Egypt and Sudan and are still fighting for their cultural identity. Not against invaders anymore, but against modern progress. Ancient Nubian homelands in southern Egypt were submerged as a result of the building of the Aswan High Dam in the 1970s. Nubians were displaced from their communities during the building of the dam and have been demanding compensation ever since. In Sudan, a series of dams are proposed that, if constructed, will flood another part of the Nubians' ancestral homeland. In addition to these proposed dams, the Meroe Dam is now operational and has displaced almost 50,000 people. Nubia played an essential part in ancient Egypt's history, and as more archaeological sites are found, there are sure to be some amazing discoveries made about this great African civilization. Hopefully, these historical treasures are not lost under the waters of progress. For more videos on the most amazing forgotten parts of our history, be sure to subscribe to the Intrigued Mind channel. Like the video and leave your suggestions in the comments below.